Digital or physical games, which are better? Hello everyone, my name is Adam and I'm an indie game developer, and welcome to TimeLag Gaming, where I talk about everything Nintendo from the perspective of a game developer, as well as give you behind the scenes videos on what I'm developing. If you're new here, watch this video, and if you like what you see, hit subscribe and smash that like button. There are 9 main variables when comparing digital and physical games. The first variable to compare is how early can you access the games. I actually made an entire video about this. With the eShop, you can pre-purchase and preload most games before they even come out. However, like I covered in the other video, a lot of the time you can't actually play the game until the next morning or even the next evening of the release day. Although, with physical games, most stores do midnight or 9 p.m. releases the night before. Where I live in the Pacific time zone, stores like GameStop and Best Buy will release games at 9 p.m. Of course, not all games release physically, and that will always be the case. So even if you do decide to go all physical, there will still be games you end up buying digitally, and that's fine. Either way, right now, physical games may actually be better in terms of accessing games as early as possible. The next variable is sharing. This area recently changed a lot. With a recent update to the Nintendo Switch, it enabled users to basically share their digital games onto their friend's system. This works by signing into your account on another Nintendo Switch. Then you can download all the games that you've bought digitally onto their system. The only catch is that a game that is being shared on more than one device can't be played by 2 people at once. However, if you both have lots of games, then this shouldn't be an issue. Now, if you compare this to how you can share physical games, you'll notice that sharing physical games is actually less convenient. Even if you don't like the idea of putting your account onto your friend's Switch, it's actually better than letting them borrow a physical game. The Switch cartridges are very small, and if you are sharing them with a friend or family member, it's very easy to lose a physical copy. But sharing your games digitally, you don't have to worry about that. Also, sharing them digitally is better because what if you're sharing your physical game and you want to play it, but your friend has it at their house? So then if you want to play that game, you have to travel to wherever they are to get the game. But digitally, if your friend is playing a game and you want to play it on your Switch, you can just ask them to get off and let you play when they are done. So overall, the aspect of sharing games has actually become better with digital games. Now we come to the variable of cost. As we all know, with the Switch, there is a so-called Switch tax when buying physical versions of games. Right now, the Switch cartridges are expensive to manufacture, so physical versions of games often cost about $5 or $10 more than their digital counterparts. Also, physical Switch versions of games will often cost more than the physical version of the same game on PS4. This is starting to happen less often, but it's still present. Also, when games get limited run releases through companies like Limited Run Games and others, they usually cost way more than the digital counterpart. On top of all this, when you buy digital games, you get way more My Nintendo Gold points that can be used towards your next game purchase. So, if you buy a $60 physical game, you get 60 points, which translates into 60 cents towards your next digital purchase. But if you buy a $60 digital game, you get 300 points, which translates into $3 towards your next digital purchase. And when you pre-purchase a first-party game, you usually get an extra 300 points, which essentially gives you $6 off the game. Also, when you purchase a physical game that is over a year old, you don't get any points from that game at all. In addition, you can use your previous gold points to make a digital game you want even cheaper. This you can't do with physical games. So if cost is important to you, digital games are better in this category. Related to cost is the variable of pre-owned games. There is no way to sell digital games you've already downloaded, so there's no way to buy a pre-owned copy for cheaper. But with physical games, if you're patient and don't care about getting the games right when they come out, you can wait a few weeks and get the physical copy of a game for way cheaper than it is digitally. Buying used physical games can save you a ton of money versus digital games. GameStop also oftentimes has buy 2 get 1 free sales for physical games, which can make physical games extremely cheap. You can also buy a pre-owned game from GameStop, try out the game, or even beat the game, and then return it. Pro tip for you, GameStop has an extended holiday return policy, which means you can buy a few pre-owned games, play them for 2 months, and beat them, and then return them. I did this last year with the game Rhyme. Anyways, overall the variable of having pre-owned physical games is far better than digital games. Directly relating to being able to get pre-owned copies of physical games is the variable of selling. You can only sell physical copies, and that is one of the biggest reasons to go physical over digital. With physical games, you can buy them, and if you don't like the game, you can easily trade it in to a game store or sell it online or to a friend. This feature allows you to get the money back from games you didn't like, or you can simply get money back from games that you've loved but completed and won't be playing anymore. There's nothing even close to this with digital games, and thus, the variable of selling is much better with physical games. The variable of portability is one of the biggest reasons to go digital. With digital games, you can store your entire game library on your Switch, granted you have a big enough SD card. Being able to have all your games digitally means you don't have to haul your cartridges around with you, making the system more portable. You also don't have to switch your cartridges, which is super nice because you don't have to dig through all your games to find the right one, and instead, you just select the game you want to play and it just automatically launches. So the feature of portability is way better with digital games. Related to portability is the next variable, which is storage. Because physical games usually have the entire game on the cartridge, you don't have to worry about buying a huge micro SD card to fit all your games onto. Now yes, there are lots of physical releases that haven't had the entire game on the cartridge, and while it is completely ridiculous, you still are using up less storage than you would be if you went digital. Also, even if you went all digital, the biggest genuine micro SD card you can currently buy for Switch is 400 gigabytes, and if you have tons of games, that might not even be enough. So right now, physical games are better than digital ones when it comes to storage. As briefly mentioned earlier, it's easy to lose your physical Switch cartridges. This brings us to the variable of damage and loss. The cartridges are small and can be easily lost, and you have a chance of breaking them. These are not issues with digital games, so when it comes to damage and loss, digital games are better. The last main variable when considering digital versus physical games is collectability. This, of course, you can only get with physical games, and this is another one of the biggest reasons to go physical. It's the actual physical nature of the game. Having a physical game that you can own and hold, and that you can show off with a box, this variable is obviously better with physical games. So there you have it, the 9 main variables or reasons to go physical or digital. On paper, there are actually more reasons to go physical. Physical games are better in 5 categories versus the 4 that digital games are better in. But there are starting to be more and more reasons to go digital with the new addition of being able to share games digitally. Also, the variable of early access could easily be better with digital games if Nintendo would require digital games to be released at a set time, like midnight Eastern time. This would mean digital games are better in more categories. However, what it really comes down to is which of these 9 variables are most important to you. You may not care about getting the game as early as possible. You may prefer being able to have all your games downloaded onto your Switch and not having to carry around all the games. I hope this comparison has helped you in deciding if you want to go physical or digital. I also created this chart to make it easier for you to see all the pros and cons, and also so you can go through each one and decide which of these categories are most important to you. For a long time, physical games have hands down been the better option in my opinion. But now that we can share games digitally and preloading has become more common, it's starting to look like digital games might be becoming the better option. That being said, I love having the physical version of games, and I always will. So yes, I still prefer physical games. Enough from me though, I want to hear from you. Do you prefer physical or digital games? Which of these 9 variables are most important to you? Did I miss any reasons to go physical or digital? Let me know your take in the comments down below. Thanks again for watching.